Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the live stream. I hope you're all very well tonight. Now, just looking at the chat before I start. UBI, great to see you once again. How long before you mention me? I'll try and get through the stream without mentioning UBI, but probably I will at some stage. Tiny Demolition Lover, hope you're well. Sorry for jumping onto your stream. And disrupting it. We have Super, great to see you, Super. Hope you're well. Tom Nelson, great to see you, Tom. Bonsoir, Hamster. Tom, both Toms, great to see both of you. CGM, great to see you. Killer, thanks for coming on and moderating once again. We have FSM is the dog, the flying spaghetti monster indeed. We have Cyprus, great to see you. We have Cyprus Singles. We have Raven 1983 Witch, great to see you. We have Enzo the God, great to have you on, Enzo. Oh, we have a super chat from Whiskas Dog. Evening, Max. Have you seen my unicorn anywhere? No, Reagan Elite. It was Reagan Elite. Sorry. Thank you very much, Reagan Elite. Have I seen your unicorn? I have not seen your unicorn, I'm afraid. Have you asked Michael Gove? He might have one hidden somewhere. We have on the stream Inconsequential, great to see you. We also have Yoni, great to see you. Glasgow Kids, great to have you on, hope you're well. We have Catherine, great to see you. Lenan, great to have you on, hope you're well. Akis Mad, great to see you. Hi all, hi Max. Simon, great to see you. Reagan Elite, and thanks for that super chat, Reagan Elite. Pete Robbins, great to see you. Era, great to see you. Hope you're well. John O'Sullivan, great to see you. Tom, Gene T, great to see you. Ministerian, great to have you on. We have Archangel, great to see you. Conservator, great to have you on. Hope you're well. Good evening, Max and the Maxiteers. The mirror opposite of Brexiteers. We have Joe, Red Star, and well, we're up to 153. That's great. Guys, remember to smash that like button. Let's get up to a good number tonight. I'm just going to go through quickly who's on. We have English Bulldog. We have Bogdan. Great to see you, Bogdan. Ireland needs Mankinis and UBI. We have Jared, great to see you. Scottish £100 notes in a bag. Is that a reference to something? UBI, Subido. Thank you very much, Ministerian. I promise. Okay, I will touch on UBI tonight, of course. We thank you very much for that super chat. Nickelodeon, thank you so much for that super chat. Hi, Max. Keep up the good work. That's very kind of you. I will. Very kind of you. Thanks for that super chat. Just read some of your comments before we jump on to the main topics. Derek McCall, great to see you. Like button has been liked. That's fantastic. Remember, guys, smash that like button. Come on, Italian, Irish Italian man. Valerio, thank you so much for that super chat. Buonasera. I hope you're very well. Good evening. 174 watching and 66 likes. That's not good enough. Smash that like button, guys. So remember, if you want to support the channel, you can send a super chat and I'll read it out. What's UBI? Asks Ben. Hi Max, 5 stars for your good. That's very kind of you. Watch live. Great. Thank you very much for that. We have outsider views. Great to see you. Hope you're well, Mark. Max, your Claire Fox video was great. Thank you very much, Gene T. It was very long, and the original video was over an hour long, and I spent about 40 minutes talking when the clip that I took was only about 10 minutes, I think. But it really rubbed me the wrong way, so I had to respond to it. So I hope you liked it. English Bulldog had to go. He had a date with Anne Whittaker. Wilsey, great to see you. Verti, great to have you on. Hope you're well. Was that British wind again? My God, British wind. Oh. But the problem is, that's said to people, and those people will cheer it on. You know, how far have we fallen that somebody's trying to sell people British wind, not as a joke? You know, no wonder we're not reading any articles from the Onion anymore, because, you know, what can they write? Daigo, great to have you on. Love your videos. Love from Portugal. Hope everything's well over there. As far as I know, I read something about Portugal is doing very well in regards to the pandemic. Here in Italy, we're not doing very well at the moment. It's a bit out of control. I tried watching Owen, but couldn't. I actually didn't know that Owen Jones was a Eurosceptic. I don't know if he called himself a Brexiteer, but I didn't actually know he was a Eurosceptic until I actually saw that video. I knew he was a supporter of Jeremy Corbyn, and still is a supporter of Jeremy Corbyn. But when it came to Brexit, I actually didn't know that he had supported Brexit, or I don't know if he still supports it. But James May, great to see you. So I'd really like to get some of his idea, like try and understand why he supported Brexit or continues to support Brexit. He didn't say much in that video. British wind is British wind energy industry. No, I don't think so. I think he was talking about wind. The wind itself would be British. Don't think he is, Max. Christopher Flack, thank you so much for that super chat. Thumbs up, thank you very much for that. Artemis, great to have you on the stream. Hope you're well. Hi all, I'm very well. I hope you're well too, Artemis. Okay, so let's jump into the first. So what's the situation here in Italy at the moment? I just wanted to touch on this story. It says here, Italian government approves strict new COVID measures as cases rise. So here where I live in the region of Veneto, and the main city in Veneto is Venice, and we just received a notification today that we're going to lockdown once again. So there are different color-coded zones. Tom, thank you so much for that super chat. With all the talk of kicking the Brexit can down the road, here's hoping they'll soon be kicking it down a cul-de-sac. Yes. Well, we'll get to that after, I promise. Thanks very much for that super chat, Tom. So here in Veneto, there are different color-coded zones. So I think Liguria, or maybe Valle d'Aosta, which is near France, I think. Yes, I think it's near France. They've actually become white zone, so they actually have no restrictions. But most of the country is either in orange or red. Red is the ultimate level. And the region that I'm living in is in the red zone, and it means that we can't leave our towns, we can't leave our communes, and it's pretty bad. So schools are going to close. Most non-essential retail will close. Bars and restaurants will have to be. I think their bars are takeaway service only. Restaurants will be closed. They may offer delivery service only. No, it's actually delivery service only, so there's no takeaway service at all. So bars and restaurants, I think, as far as I know, will be closed. Anyway, let's get into this. It says here, the Italian government has approved regulations that could result in half the country, including Lazio, the region surrounding Rome, entering total lockdown from Monday as coronavirus infections surge. So this is probably going to go on until sometime. Liguria is orange. Thanks for that, Magda. The article shown in the Guardian, by the way, the article shown in the Guardian article is posted earlier about the tightening restrictions in Italy. Sardinia is the only white one. Sardinia is an island, and they've actually, it's pretty much a tourist destination, but because there's no tourism, there are very few people living there at the moment, so they've done pretty well at protecting themselves. Zones from white and coloured. Sounds like something the Tory voters would love. Yes. Noodles. Good point. The cabinet of the Prime Minister Mario Draghi. Draghi is actually a really cool name. It's if you translate it, means dragons. Has given the green light to a decree that will categorize regions as being in high risk red zones if there are more than 250 weekly cases per 100,000 residents. Italy registered 26,824 new COVID-19 infections on Friday and 380 deaths. The Italian news service ANSA reported on Friday that Health Minister Roberto Speranza will sign a decree that will see the regions of Lombardy, Lazio, Emilia-Romagna, Friuli, Venezia Giulia, Veneto, where I live, Piemonte, Puglia, Marche, and the province of Trento enter the red zone from Monday. So these are added to ones that are already in red zone, and you can see here the number of new. So we had seen numbers coming down. Chat isn't on screen. Oh, for some reason, let me see what's the matter. Chat box. Maybe I didn't refresh. For some reason the chat box is not appearing on the screen. What is the... Let me see if I can refresh it. No. Now it seems to be working. Okay, I think I can see John's name. Okay, apologies for that. I'm not for some reason. Thanks for that super chat. Sorry you had to send me a super chat to tell me about that. For some reason it wasn't appearing. Now it seems to be working. Okay, thanks for that warning, Glasgow case. So you can see here the data, 25,000 cases. Things are on the rise again. It seems to be the case that as we seem to ease some of the lockdown, the cases started to rise again. I think the problem also was because we had stricter restrictions and then we started to ease some of the restrictions a couple of weeks ago, about a month ago. Yeah, it was the middle of February, where bars had been closed all the time, and then we changed it to bars being open for half of the day. And then what happened was people were queuing up to get their spritz, or as some people on the stream call it, baby sham, the spritz, just before dinner time. So the small bars would be full of people up until 6 o'clock. People would get drunk and then they would leave and go home and have dinner at 7 o'clock. And I think that's part of the problem. And I think also the fact that schools were open was also a problem, because the kids would, sanitize their hands, wear masks in the classroom. Even in the elementary schools, kids would be wearing masks all day long. But the problem is that at the recess, the kids would mix and play together, which is understandable. Okay, the kids need to do this. But I think it may have facilitated the spread. Hamsters were overfed last week. Okay. So we're going to have to wait and see how this lockdown impacts the spread. It will bring down the spread, of course. But we need to improve the rollout of the vaccine, which fortunately it seems, I read a news article today here in Italy that the rollout of the vaccine has started to improve somewhat, and especially where I live, they opened a new center which is rolling out the vaccine, and they're going to hit probably 5,000 inoculations per day. So that's good news. Okay, let's move on to Brexit. Yay! That's what you're here for. So before I get to the, well, you've probably heard the news that there's been a massive drop in trade between the UK and the EU and vice versa. Imports and exports have dropped massively. Now, the Conservative Party had been, and the Tories and Brexiteers and Boris Johnson had been blaming the pandemic, saying it was the pandemic's fault. But no, you can compare this to trade that has dropped somewhat to the rest of the world, but the trade with the European Union has plummeted. I want to show you this video from Euronews, where they're going to explain this in a bit more detail.
Companies had to fill up a 40%. So what's caused this slump, a 40% drop? What are the factors there?
Good morning, Rosie. Well, remember that transitional agreement between the UK and the continent of Europe came to an abrupt end on the 31st of December, with that decision being clinched on Christmas Eve, when most people were engaged in Christmas celebrations and holidays. So it meant that on the 1st of January, when traders went back to work and trade resumed, it meant that the UK was no longer in the customs union. Of course, that came with a lot more red tape that perhaps the United Kingdom were not fully prepared for. And we understand that the British government then did start to prepare webinars to try and make sure that companies and manufacturers could get prepared. But that information, people have been telling us, came too late and was just too complicated. In some instances, companies had to fill out up to 250 different documents in order to get products out from the UK over to the continent. And
because in many cases they were dealing with individual countries. So I need to send goods to France, for example. I need this list of documents. If I need to send goods to Italy, I need this list of documents. If I need to send goods to Germany, I need this list of documents. And we've seen how there were something like 21 documents for one consignment. 83% drop in fish sales to EU. 83%. Bozo visited Northern Ireland today and was snubbed. Poor guy. I'm going to get to that later in the stream. Pitchfork and lantern time, folks. Pretty much like 250 forms. Yes. Those interested. For those interested, her name is pronounced Maeve. Blood clots have not been proven to be vaccine related. They're investigating. Yeah, it's something about a consequence or a side effect of the vaccine was blood clots, but that hasn't been confirmed yet. Brexit was a bad idea executed badly. Pretty much, yes. Brexit was the worst timed and worst executed plan ever by an advanced government. Rigal, great to see you on the stream. Wee Scott's dog, great to have you on. I don't know if I said hello already to Wee Scott's dog. Sugar Free, great to see you. Hope you're well.
And that's why we're seeing this data come out this morning, Rosie. And that's why we're also seeing worrying data coming out of Make UK. That is, of course, the organisation that represents manufacturers in the United Kingdom. And they say that 3 out of 4 of their companies have been experiencing delays in the first 3 months of the year.
So it's not just because what happened was Brexiteers were saying, look, there's some teething problems in January. This will be sorted out because, you know, there's a bit of a change. But don't worry. Remember Richard Tice was saying, you know, be a bump in the road or a bump in the track or something like that. Yeah, it'll just be, you know, Brexit will not be a problem. There'll be it will require a little bit of adjustment. Now, that could have been justified in a way. That response could have been justified in the first few weeks of Brexit. But we're 3 months in. Almost 3 full months in. 2.5 months in. And it's still creating problems. Now, I think a bigger problem that's going to take place with Brexit is that customers in the EU, and also in relation to Northern Ireland, but in the EU, many customers who used to source their goods from the UK have been forced to source goods from the rest of the EU. Like even a simple example of somebody who's in France and they want to purchase something on amazon.co.uk. If they have a bad experience the first time and they say, look, if I go and buy it from amazon.fr or amazon.de in Germany and it arrives without any problems, are you going to go back and purchase things from the UK again? No. Or you'll be thinking twice before doing it. Even if all the paperwork and everything is sorted out, which it will not be, but even if it were, a lot of trade has already been lost. It's very difficult to win that trade back. Even if there were no tariffs, even if all the paperwork was resolved, which it won't be, you would still have that goodwill lost. And goodwill is something very difficult to win back.
And also that half of their companies have experienced increased costs, and they're asking the UK government for help, for urgent help. They say they need help with these custom declarations and they need more staff who understand exactly what the job that they have to do.
Why aren't these companies protesting? Why isn't there... I understand because of COVID you can't organise mass protests, but I hope as soon as COVID is over and people are able to return to some sort of normality, there will be massive protests around Parliament, around number 10, putting pressure on the government to help businesses. Because at the moment the fishermen are suffering, they can't sell their fish. Or if they are trying to sell them, they're suffering these delays because of the extra paperwork and the extra costs. But they're not protesting about it. They're not complaining. Now, I hope it's because they're afraid of, because of the restrictions of COVID. But I hope as soon as that's over that they're going to protest, because nothing will change. But unfortunately, I think there's nothing really the government can do apart from returning to the single market and the customs union.
Is exactly.
Also, Maeve, the UK have now decided to further postpone full border checks on EU imports. Why have they decided to do that? Presumably hasn't gone down very well in Brussels.
Well, they argue that this is, of course, down to COVID challenges, Rosie, but many...
The COVID challenges. Look, it's because they're not ready. They understand that if they put in border checks today or tomorrow or from the beginning of April, and they don't have the staff to carry out these checks, it will create delays and it will create shortages. And it would be extremely embarrassing for Boris Johnson's government if there are food shortages, if supermarket shelves are empty. The public would go crazy. We've seen what happened with the pandemic, how people were hoarding toilet paper and salad and all sorts of things. That would be this. You would have a similar problem, but it wouldn't be because of the pandemic. It would be because of Brexit, and the government want to avoid that at all costs. They want to kick this can as far down the road as possible, because otherwise they're going to have civil unrest. And this has been laid out, of course, as part of Michael Gove's Yellowhammer program, Operation Yellowhammer, where they said that there would be rioting, there would be shortages of fuel, for example. This is something that would be detrimental to the economy. Can you imagine limits on fuel? Fishing rights. Sorry, I ordered 150 euros worth of skincare products and got charged 67 euro. That was the last time I ordered from the UK. Geraldine Doyle. So even if it was eliminated, you'd still think twice about ordering again. So what you'll do instead is you'll order from the EU, and then you won't even probably consider returning to buy the product from the UK. That's the problem. I'm sorry for the business that's selling from the UK, but it's not their fault. It's because of Brexit. But we got our sovereignty on fish. British fish are happier. And don't forget about the blue passports. BBC was talking about this tonight, and I don't get the details. Was in the kitchen making dinner when I asked my wife what they were saying. She says, says a lot of pish as usual. Another problem I see with Northern Ireland is that they continue to blame the protocol and not Brexit itself. Operation Silly Beggar. In Morrison's this week, they were promoting British fish. There were pictures of boats with the captains. It made me feel like crying. Max, a 3-day week. That's possible. No one needs the UK except the Scotch whiskey. Bollocks to blue passport. It's like Vichy France. People don't speak. Hopefully there's a resistance. A marquee, yes. 40% decrease wouldn't get much better in the future, I'm afraid. No, this is not going to get better. And all of Liz Truss's, trade deals with Vietnam or Kenya or wherever is not going to make up for the loss of this trade. And at the same time, Rishi Sunak is pumping money into conservative constituencies. This is concerning because you're going to see Labour constituencies getting poorer. You're going to see money being pumped into conservative constituencies, and public debt is rising all the time. Lockdown just dampened the effect. Come summer, we're screwed. I'm afraid so. Scotch whisky is one of the biggest UK, one of the UK's biggest exports. More is sold outside the UK. Fortunately, the tariffs on Scotch whisky have been or are being removed, so that's a benefit. But I think that's just the tariffs. But of course, there are, I assume, requirements of paperwork that need to be completed in order to sell into the EU. For example, Scotch whisky you can buy here on Amazon in Italy is still it's actually shipped from Italy. So when that stock runs out, I don't know what's going to happen. Summer, it'll take 3 weeks max. We'll see. We'll have to see how long it takes.
Many here in Brussels would argue that it means that they just were not ready for Brexit, despite the many warnings coming from all the capitals around the EU and the many warnings as well coming from Michel Barnier that things...
Remember Michel Barnier was saying, you need to get ready. The clock is ticking. Get ready for Brexit. And the response from the Brexiteers was, Project Fear. Shut up. He's jealous. He's about to be kicked out. The EU is about to collapse. Alexis, thank you so much for that super chat. Liz Truss is trussing up the UK. Oh my God. Daily Blaze, great to see you on the stream. Hope you're well. But yes, it's right. We knew this. There was no preparation, no real preparation made. And of course there wasn't proper preparation because the government were afraid to prepare. They were afraid to tell businesses you need to do all of these things. Because if they did, it would undermine Brexit. The public would say, wait a minute, was this a bad idea?
Would look a little bit different after the transitional agreement came to an end. Some people have been saying that this is the UK's way of taking back control without really taking back control. Many saying that this is embarrassing, that the United Kingdom did have a long time to prepare for the end of that transitional agreement, but perhaps didn't tell the people or businesses, of course, exactly what this would mean, because they wanted, of course, to sell Brexit as something that would have a very positive impact. So this
that was it. It was about selling Brexit. Could never say that there would be problems. You know, it wasn't really until last December when we started to hear Michael Gove say, yeah, there will be some adjustment required. It won't be, perfect from day one. The rhetoric changed. This time last year, everything was great. Everything was fantastic. Brexit is done, actually. Boris Johnson was trying to eliminate the word Brexit from the government's official documentation. Don't mention Brexit anymore. Brexit is done. Brexit, the price worth paying. All the tiers seem to indicate even this was a lie. And what really pisses me off is that there are people on the left that support it still, like Claire Fox and even Owen Jones. As far as I know, Owen Jones still supports Brexit. I'm not going to mention Jeremy Corbyn because maybe he has changed his mind. But Jim, great to see you on the stream. Hope you're well. Yeah, UBI. It's not the problem. It's not a problem. It's a feature. Daily Blaze, good evening. Hope you're very well. Yeah, it's very well. I love your videos. I saw one you had up yesterday, I think it was. That was really good.
This news, of course, will come firstly as a sigh of relief for business, because it would mean that they'll be able to restock their shelves a little bit easier. They'll be able to get their car parts from the continent that little bit easier. But the British Chamber of Commerce has warned that this 6-month period should just be a temporary measure, that some companies in the UK are experiencing existential problems, and these issues need to be ironed out as soon as possible.
Like telling Boris Johnson and the Brexiteers you need to sort this out is pointless, because they don't want to be told anything by the EU. So these problems are going to persist. And I truly believe that instead of actually dealing with these problems, they will try to distract the public with, look at the statues. The Black Lives Matter are trying to tear down statues. Or it'll be, look at the vaccine. Look how great we're doing with the vaccine. Aren't you glad that we're outside of the EU? Yes, we're losing money hand over fist, but, you know, the vaccine, remember the vaccine, even though it's the UK is leading on first jabs, but not on second. Anyway, let's, I want to show you this report here. It says, this is from The Independent. It says, trade experts ridicule David Frost for denying his Brexit deal is responsible for exports crash. So trade experts have ridiculed the minister who negotiated the Brexit deal. Remember David Frost, he's now a cabinet minister, an unelected bureaucrat. Anyway, I thought Brexiteers didn't like unelected bureaucrats. After he denied it was responsible for devastating collapse in exports, goods sales to the EU plunged by 40% in January, and imports slumped by 28.8%. The largest declines since comparable records began in 1997. Significantly, there are no similar falls in Britain's trade with non-EU countries. Apparently, firm evidence that a mountain of red tape since Brexit was completed is to blame. Yes, because trade with other countries is not down so much, but trade with the EU is massively down. But David Frost, picked by Boris Johnson to negotiate the Christmas Eve agreement, pointed to pre-Christmas stockpiling and COVID lockdowns across Europe as explanations for the slump. See, once again, this was always on the cards. Blame COVID, blame COVID, blame COVID. But as we move out of COVID, as we adjust to COVID, you're not going to be able to continue to blame it. And stockpiling, yes, was an issue. Stockpiling saved the country from, saved Brexit in a sense. And COVID saved Brexit. So it's not, you're blaming something that's actually protecting the public from the costs of Brexit. These effects are starting to unwind, he argued, adding freight volumes between the UK and EU have been back to their normal levels for over a month now since the start of February. But that's because many trucks seem to be moving back into the EU empty, because they want to avoid all of these new checks. Lord Frost, now the Brexit minister, also said businesses have made the changes needed to trade effectively with the EU, but we are now focused on providing active and extensive support to others who need to adapt. But David Hennig, director of the European Centre for International Political Economy, says such denial flew in the face of pretty much every reputable trade specialist and 100 years of trade theory. Sam Lowe, Senior Research Fellow at the Centre for European Reform think tank, said, I mean, it's not particularly difficult to understand. If you put up large barriers to international trade, the expected result is trade becomes more expensive and difficult, and therefore there is less trade than if the barriers were not there. Yeah, of course. If you impose barriers, you're going to see less trade. If you put speed bumps on the road, the cars will move slower. Maybe they should move slower. Sometimes no, but you get the idea what I'm trying to push. Chris Ryan, thank you so much for that super chat. And for some reason, I'm not hearing the notifications. Why am I not hearing alert box? Chris Ryan, thank you so much. If the EU do not ratify the trade agreement due to the shenanigans with the Northern Ireland sea border, what do you think will happen? Trade agreement cancelled? It's possible. It's possible that the trade agreement will be cancelled. But you have to remember that the trade deal is nothing to do with the withdrawal agreement. So the Northern Ireland Protocol would still remain. The situation with Northern Ireland would be the same. There's nothing. The trade deal is basically just about tariffs, and non-tariff barriers would remain, but it's just about eliminating tariffs on certain goods. But those would be removed, and then you would have tariffs. So you'd have the paperwork, and you would have the tariffs. The EU could do it. Could say we're not ratifying it, and then we'd be in trouble. Well, the UK would be in trouble. The EU would be pretty much okay. As okay as Brexit has been, the EU wouldn't really suffer any greater consequences. But it's highly possible to do that. It would be extremely damaging, because then businesses who are actually completing all the paperwork and not suffering the cost of the tariffs, not seeing their goods, not seeing tariffs imposed on their goods. Because remember that who pays the tariff is the customer. So some businesses who are probably trading with the UK at the moment, they would have to pay tariffs on UK goods coming into the EU, and they would say, look, this is too expensive. I'm going to purchase from the EU. So this is not going to help British business. It's for something that's essential and is only possible to find in the UK. Well, the businesses would have to suffer the consequences of that. But tariffs are normally on things that already exist within the country. It's to protect the business within the country. So it would result in more products being more expensive from the UK, and that's not what you want. The UK government could, because it wouldn't have to, the trade deal wouldn't have to be respected. That would mean that the UK could avoid the level playing field, and it could compensate UK businesses, but then that would be extremely expensive, and it could open a Pandora's box when it comes to the WTO. Peter, thank you so much for that super chat. No job and no income, but I have a vaccine soon. I'm very sorry to hear that, Peter. At least you have the vaccine, but yes, no, I understand your point. Yeah, Brexit has delivered. Although if you actually understand the reality of Brexit, wasn't actually necessary to leave the EU in order to get the vaccine. The UK could have gone alone anyway. It wasn't a requirement of Brexit. But so many businesses are suffering because of Brexit, as we've seen. I bet Jeff breathed a sigh of relief when they fingered the cop. Global. Well, you think he was expecting someone else, maybe someone from a different country. What did the UK's delegation to Washington regarding Northern Ireland manage to achieve? Any info? No, Minnie, thank you so much for that super chat. I think it was a case of please don't punish us. I've been watching the DUP react to the situation over the last number of days, and they've moved from anger to desperation, because I think they're starting to understand that they're not going to be able to get rid of the protocol. Boris Johnson may rant and rave about it and threaten to throw it in the bin, but I don't think he's going to do that. So I think whatever the delegation going to... Sorry, I want to bring up this story. This is related to this. The fact that the UK government went to Washington to try and work out something with the United States. I think it's just an attempt to lobby against the EU, but I don't think it's going to achieve very much. The DUP, a party without a clause, yes. Could the last person of the UK turn off the lights? Okay, so I want to show you this story. Sinn Féin calls Boris Johnson's visit to Northern Ireland publicity stunt. And I'm going to show you a video of Boris Johnson here in a moment. As you know, I live to give. A visit by Boris Johnson to Northern Ireland to promote the centenary. Of course, this is the Northern Ireland centenary, so Northern Ireland is 100 years old this year, or today. And response to COVID-19 has triggered a political row with Sinn Féin, which branded his visit a publicity stunt. The Prime Minister... Yes and no. But the Prime Minister went to a vaccination centre in County Fermanagh and unveiled plans to mark the state's foundation 100 years ago during a one-day visit on Friday. Sinn Féin Deputy First Minister Michelle O'Neill did not welcome Johnson to Belfast or attend any of the events after so this is important, he declined to meet with her and Sinn Féin leader Mary Lou MacDonald. So you have the Deputy First Leader of Northern Ireland asking Boris Johnson, can we have a meeting? And he denies, he refuses. Now, this has been played in the media as a snub by Sinn Féin, but it's actually a snub by Boris Johnson, because they wanted to speak with him, and he said no. And they went, okay, well then we're not going to meet with you. To discuss Stormont executive and post-Brexit arrangements, the party accused him of reneging on commitments. Boris Johnson reneging on commitments? Impossible. Bozo and the cunning stunt. Thanks for that super chat, FSM. The cunning stunt. Almost got me there. Stop. Okay. Arlene Foster, the First Minister and Democratic Unionist Party leader, urged the Prime Minister to stand up for Northern Ireland and replace intolerable post-Brexit checks on goods arriving from Great Britain. Okay, this is what I'm talking about here. The DUP think they think they still have some sort of power. I don't have the video here, but I should have actually showed it. So there was a video where a member of Parliament for the DUP asked a question in Parliament this week, and he was asking about the Northern Ireland Protocol. He's from the DUP, and the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland basically just told him to get lost. So even the DUP, they ask questions and they're ignored, like every other member of Parliament. But in particular, it's pretty bad because Northern Ireland is in a particular position. So when the DUP are ignored, it's pretty bad. The DUP treat Boris Johnson, the Tories, like gods. They worship Westminster, and they're treated like crap at Westminster. Even Jacob Rees-Mogg humours them from time to time, but he has nothing but contempt for them. Anyway, in an apparent olive branch to Foster, Johnson visited a vaccination centre in her native Fermanagh. Okay. So it's always great to have Boris Johnson turn up and disrupt people's work, isn't it? Replace it with what? Unicorns or happy fish? Yeah, that's a very good point. Replace the intolerable post-Brexit checks on goods. Or replace with what? With nothing. They want to replace it with zero, nothing, zippo. They want. It's important to remember that the DUP voted for Brexit. Okay, they didn't. They campaigned against the Good Friday Agreement. And they campaigned and voted against Theresa May's deal. Now, Theresa May's deal would have included Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK in the single market and the customs union. But the DUP didn't want that. So the other alternative was a border on the island of Ireland or a border in the Irish Sea. But a border on the island of Ireland was not going to fly because the EU was against it and the UK government was against it. Now, officially, they were against it. Boris Johnson and the Tories would have, said, oh, well, we can get round it in some way. But, they had signed up, the British government had signed it into legislation. I know they've threatened to break the law on many occasions, but there would have been serious consequences if the UK government broke the Good Friday Agreement. So that wasn't going to happen. So the DUP voted for, if they had used a bit of psychology, they would have realised that Theresa May's deal was the best thing that they had. And they voted against it. They couldn't project forward the scenario where, okay, if we reject this deal, the border is going to go in the Irish Sea, or it's going to go on the island of Ireland. And if it goes on the island of Ireland, then the UK government are not going to accept that. So the only alternative was the border in the Irish Sea. So when it came down to their hatred for sorry, can I say that again? When it came down to a choice, their hatred for the EU was stronger than their desire to remain in the Union. Because they could have stayed in the Union, but it would have accepted the Theresa May's deal, which included the UK backstop, which would have included all of the UK within the single market and the customs union. But they didn't want that. Do the Tories need the DUP to prop up them in Westminster? No, they don't, Peter. I don't know if that's a rhetorical question, but no, they don't need them at all. Boris Johnson has an 80-seat majority. Boris Johnson is going to Northern Ireland really, I'm not sure why. What's the benefit? Maybe it's this promotion of the Union tour, but Northern Ireland is not like Scotland, so I'm not sure why he's going to Northern Ireland. Unless it's because of the centenary. He has to say, oh, I better go there and show my face. Good job it isn't flooding. Earlier, so let me show you this video where he commented on this.
We think it's lawful, and indeed we think it's right in view of the impact on the peace process and the Good Friday Agreement and the need to have consent from both communities. I think the most important thing about the protocol is that it should guarantee the peace process and the Good Friday Agreement, which we all believe in, and everybody and Ireland and the UK and Northern Ireland has worked so hard to achieve.
Okay, so that's it. End of story. If you want to maintain peace in Northern Ireland, then you need to reinforce the protocol. Because if you remove the protocol, then you put peace in Northern Ireland at risk. I know that the DUP don't like it, but the DUP voted for taking away the safety guard, the fire extinguisher against the protection of the union. They voted to take that away. They can't complain about it now.
And there's got to be a balance and symmetry in that. And what we want to ensure is that the protocol upholds the wishes of all communities, of both communities, and has the consent of both. So there's got to be an east-west consent to what's going on, as well as north-south. So that's what we're doing. We're just trying to make sure that that's built into it.
But it's not an east-west consent aspect, because the consent aspect is in the Northern Ireland part, in the Northern Ireland Assembly. That's where the consent aspect is. It's nothing to do with the British government and Northern Ireland, and the British government and the Northern Ireland government working together or something, or some sort of consent between the UK government and between Westminster and Belfast. That's not the consent that he's talking, that within the Northern Ireland Protocol. The consent aspect is every 4 years, the Northern Ireland Assembly vote whether to maintain the status quo, the Northern Ireland Protocol. They have consent in that respect. It's nothing to do with Boris Johnson's government or Westminster. That aspect of consent. I don't know what Boris Johnson is talking about here. Anyway, earlier the government unveiled plans to mark the centenary of Northern Ireland, which included tree planting, a postmark, a church service. Okay, no, I'm joking because Boris Johnson is attending these, and an investment conference, and possibly a meeting of G7 trade and finance ministers. I assume it was by Zoom. Official events include a concert, academic seminars, and a presentation of a centenary rose, a mix of rose pink, ivory, and yellow, to the Queen. There will be a ceremony at Belfast City Hall to mark 100th anniversary of the opening of Northern Ireland Parliament on the 22nd of June 1921, by King George V. Approximately £1 million has been awarded to 39 community projects, which will mark the centenary. I actually don't really have a problem with this. Sinn Féin and Republicans have a problem with this, but for me, I don't. Look, if the people of Northern Ireland want to celebrate or commemorate, whichever, 100 years of Northern Ireland's existence, that's okay. I think it will be the last one. I don't think a 200th anniversary will take place. Probably Northern Ireland will not exist in maybe 10 or 15 or maybe 20 years' time. There will be a united Ireland. The creation of Northern Ireland paved the way for the formation of the UK as it is today. Boris Johnson said, "Our centenary programme will reflect on the past and on the people and developments that make Northern Ireland the great place it is today." The Tories don't give a crap about Northern Ireland. The activities will pay tribute to all those who have worked tirelessly to support Northern Ireland throughout the pandemic, and will champion the incredible young people in Northern Ireland who offer so much to the shared success of our United Kingdom. Okay. Andy, thank you so much for that. Max, please say anything to make me feel like lifting the head out of my hands at this utter clusterfuck we have find ourselves in. Really, I'm struggling now. Look, I think I assume you're talking about the UK government. The NHS has been a success in regard to the vaccine. It's been a huge success, and I think it's going to get much better. I think things are going to eventually return to some sort of normality. Brexit, let's just park it because it's not going to get better. But at least the vaccine means that there will be some sort of normality returning, hopefully soon. So I'm quite positive about that. Brexit, no. I'm sorry. Not even 50% in Northern Ireland are celebrating this centenary. It's not. I don't think it's going to be celebrated. It's maybe commemorated in a sense, because you notice it was Boris Johnson talked about young people who offer so much, and the tireless work during the pandemic. It was the references were to today, not to the past. Not an Irish border, it's a British border. Yes. But let's move on. Just to read this tweet, you can see here, Brandon Lewis, the Northern Ireland Secretary, said, "In the 100 years since formation, Northern Ireland and its people have enriched our union beyond measure. I hope the centenary programme we have announced today will leave a positive and enduring legacy." And he was writing in the Belfast Telegraph. The Conservatives don't give a crap about Northern Ireland. They don't give a crap about the people of Northern Ireland. They'd be happy to get rid of Northern Ireland if it was possible tomorrow. Got my jab. Can't wait for the extra 5 centimeters to grow. Thanks very much for that, Buckton. The extra 5 centimeters. Good luck. Good luck with that. Okay, guys, we're about halfway through the stream, so I just want to take a short break and lighten the mood a little bit. So I want to show you this funny video, and I want to say thanks to my friends on Discord who share all these funny videos from time to time. Well, we can use this one here. Enjoy.
Now, let me say from the off, this stuff is getting blown way out of proportion. The main reason now, and it wasn't even about a black child or none of that, the main reason, she was getting hefty around the she'll admit it herself.
So am I right to believe then if it's about 2 sugars that you wanted in a tea one morning, and the Queen was angry because you didn't put the requisite amount of sugar inside the tea, or am I...
What the fuck are you on about?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to belittle your problems. It was awful hard from the off, living with Harold.
The bitch got money.
I try and do as best I can. I honestly feel the same. And one day he was building a shelf in the shade with long things, and the drill came out of the wall, and there was a big explosion, and I didn't know what to do, and I ran to the Queen, and the Queen says, aren't you coloured? And I was... So you do think this is about race? I do indeed. Well, the Queen always preferred the 400 relay, but I was 100 metres type of woman, and she'd never let me change the channel, and there was always no batteries in the
No one seems to give a fuck about my tea at all and getting hot on the collar. No, Jesus.
So it all came ahead. One night I wanted to watch the 100 metres, and Her Majesty wanted to watch the 400 metre relay, and she's a sprightly woman for now, and I tried to hit her, but she was too quick for me, you know. I didn't know what to do. And you think then it's okay to beat an old woman, or would it be a gentle slap, or what were you going to do? Was it a hammer, or a ball pin hammer, or screwdriver? Were you going to give her a welt of a crowbar, them kind of things, yourself.
Look, this is getting way out of hand. Let me just state here now for the record and categorically. I just wanted tea, and people are belittling the fact that I wanted a fucking cup of tea. That's all I wanted. The bitch can't make tea, and that's it. So we moved over to Canada. There's a nice little coffee shop down the road, and you get a good cup of tea there. That's it.
Oh my god, okay. Steve-O is great. Okay, let's move on. So, of course, we've been hearing about what's happening with the NHS and the pay rise, the measly pay rise. So I want to show you this approach that the Labour Party... So the Labour Party have to respond to this. How can the Labour Party, in a sense, use this as a way to drive people away from the Conservative Party? So let's see this report from Channel 4 News about this.
How to win back voters in places like Wakefield. How to run a political campaign in the middle of a pandemic.
So I want to say thank you so much, Tiny Demolition Lover. Thanks for popping onto my live stream earlier. I will pop on once again if I see you live again. I will, promise.
And how not to look awkward when you're doing yet another speech to an empty room. These are the challenges facing Keir Starmer, who was today launching Labour's local election campaign.
We're working hard to rebuild trust. We know there's a long way to go.
His central message, a bigger pay rise for NHS workers.
When I clapped for our carers, I meant it. The Prime Minister clapped for our carers, then he slammed the door on them.
Wakefield in West Yorkshire went...
Looks a bit wooden, yes. I think it's not really his fault in that sense, but it would be better if he's in front of people. Better if he was meeting with a crowd of people. If he was in the hospital meeting with staff, and and then complaining, because it would show that he's connected to these people. Giving a press conference like this it shows him too disconnected, I think. And some of it is perhaps his fault, and some of it is not. His heart is not in it. Yes. Tom Linden, Green. I understand you're joking there. Yes. They want more than 1%. They want more than £3.50 a week. What's wrong with them? There are, members of the House of Lords who are, okay, on £305 a day expenses.
Conservative for the first time ever at the 2019 general election, and May's vote will be the first time since then that they will go back to the polls. Here they'll also be voting for a new West Yorkshire mayor. Privately, they're expecting to win it, but their candidate was managing expectations today.
This is a very difficult set of elections. Of course, it's on the back of, those awful elections in 2019. We lost so many great colleagues and councillors. It's going to be difficult because we are not able to have those doorstep conversations that I absolutely love, talking to people. I'm definitely fighting for every single vote.
Here, anti-Jeremy Corbyn sentiment gave the Conservatives a big boost. But will Keir Starmer and his message on NHS pay go down better with voters? Keir Starmer has been talking today about nurses' pay. It's a national issue, but it could still hurt your campaign. Could it be a problem for you?
It isn't in the mayor's remit, so I cannot give a pay rise to nurses as mayor. There's many issues that are coming up for people. People are worried about their jobs, people are worried about their businesses, people are worried how they safely return to work. Those are within the mayor's remit. That is what I'm talking about with people. And
guys, do you think if Keir Starmer came out and said, we're going to give everyone a UBI, would that make any difference? I think he needs to do something like that. People say, what? Who? What? Where? What's a UBI? What's a UBI? And it would go... I think he needs to do something radical just to get people to wake up. So I'm going to punch Boris Johnson in the face or something like that in order to get people to wake up to what he's saying. A UBI, I think, would wake up a lot of people, and people would start talking about it. And if it was to tell people, look, we're going to give everyone £1,000 a month, it'll fix all your problems. It's the silver bullet. UBI now, or something like that. Get UBI done. Something like that. But he needs to do something to change the narrative. Andy Burnham. Get Andy out. Andy, King in the North. We need to get pounds out of billionaires' bank accounts and back into the actual economy. I agree 100%. Big Starmer unfortunately lacks charisma. Sorry, but if you give who gives an F about the doorstep? The campaign these days are online. Yes, Facebook, TikTok. He needs to maybe do TikTok videos or something. He needs to do something. I'm ready. Maybe, I don't know, do a UBI, really. Get people interested. What is this UBI? The media will start talking about it for a bit. Holidays for £1.
that is what I can make a difference on in there.
Sorry, thank you very much, Ira, for that super chat. Cool. That's cool too. There will be outrage at the prospect of UBI, says Sugar Free. I love the £1,000 a month for the poor, end poverty. 15% for NHS, cancel car parking charges. Yes, I agree 100%, Richard. All they need to do is fix the credit system. When Boris Johnson says about abolishing, he's going to abolish universal credit. I would say, yes, I am. I'm going to abolish universal credit. Universal credit is a disaster. It's a failure. It has driven people into more poverty. I would replace it with something better. And have like a box and have it covered and say, I'm going to show you what it is on the 1st of May. I'm going to release, unveil what's going to replace universal credit on the 1st of May, and have like, you know, trailers and stuff like this. You know, the way that they do teasers for things, you know, teasers for trailers. That's even something even more insane at the moment. Miniature union flags for everyone. A UBI. And then you unveil it and you say, a UBI, £1,000 for everyone for the rest of their life. And then what you do is you go on the offensive. You don't care. You don't answer about how it's going to be paid for. You don't answer. You say, why are the Conservatives not presenting something like this? Why does Boris Johnson not want people to have £1,000 a month? That's what you do. You go on, you unveil it, and then you attack with it. How are you going to pay for it? How can we not pay for it? How can we not have it? That would be the response. How are you going to pay for it? And you say, well, when we go to war, we never get asked that question. You need to believe in it. Use some of the Brexit mentality. Something. Sell it to the army first. Trailer with a guy with a really low movie trailer voice. That's great. And then they came with their UBI. Cut red tape. And it needs to be something that will get people motivated, get people curious, get people talking. UBI sounds good in theory, but it sounds good in theory, never works out in practice. Because it has never been actually implemented in practice. It has been implemented in a very limited way in certain parts of the world, and where it has been implemented, it has worked pretty well, but it didn't work to its full potential because there were time limits. So 2 years, or there was it wasn't the full amount. It was maybe $500 instead of $1,000. But anyway, let's get back to you need to believe in UBI. It does require a certain amount of belief. I don't mean it in the same way as Brexit, but if we promote it, we need people to promote it. It will not, governments will not implement it because they're afraid. They're afraid of change, and it's a radical change. We are in the UBI trenches. I'll get a book. Max, that was a creepy voice. Sorry, UBI. I believe in Keir Starmer the day when he has tattoos Boris's face on his balls. And Nigel Farage and Matt Hancock's faces on his cheeks not a second sooner. Thanks, Buck. Thanks for that beautiful image. Limited and specific UBI. Yes. Okay, let's get on to what Labour have to do. Labour's new policy to purge right, all laws are suspended. Before UBI, Labour government needs to get into power and pave the way. Implement a new, easier policies first. I understand that part, Thomas. They need something. They need something radical. They need something that will get people to sit up and listen. In the way that Boris Johnson used "get Brexit done." People were tired of Brexit. People wanted it over and done with. They were tired of listening to people like me talking about Brexit for years. And many people voted for Boris Johnson's "get Brexit done" because they thought he would get Brexit done. Obviously, he didn't. He was lying to them. But it was something easy, quick and dirty. Something easy to remember, something easy to vote for. And Labour, I'm sorry, it sounds like it's condescending, but the Labour Party need to do something similar. I don't know what exactly. I would go with UBI, but I know that it may be difficult to sell. People say, but how you can't give £1,000 to people? That's insane. But it has to be one issue, one overarching issue. I don't know if it's the NHS. During the pandemic, the NHS is on the front of people's minds, but we don't know what the situation is going to be in 2024, at the next election. So it needs to be something jobs, or I don't know. So I don't know what they can run with. Labour is about as exciting as watching paint dry. Somebody, thanks very much for that, Bungdon. Somebody had said that paint watches Keir Starmer dry. How about get Brexit right? I would say reset. I think for Brexit there needs to be the rejoining the European Union should be reset Brexit, or the Brexit reset, or undo Brexit, or something like that. Maybe undo sounds negative, but reset, Britain reset could be a slogan. They need these types of slogans like Britain reset or let's reset Britain. Could be like undo the damage that Boris Johnson has done, undo Brexit, get businesses going again. You point to Brexit as the problem and reset as the solution. I don't know. I'm not a strategist. Anyway.
Lives.
Looming large over these elections is the pandemic. Labour are worried that some of their supporters will stay at home, which is why their early election campaigning has focused on postal vote registration. And there's the government's successful vaccine programme that has seen their poll ratings soar.
This really pisses me off because it's not because of the government, it's because of the NHS. And if you don't believe me, look at what happened when the government handed over Test and Trace to Serco and other companies. An absolute failure. When the vaccine was run by the NHS, it's a success. And the government are reaping the benefits, which is disgusting. Because the NHS are now being thrown under a bus, while the government are reaping the benefit, are looking at increasing poll numbers.
They're so pleased with it, they've even had 8 civil servants make a half-hour promotional film about it.
Overall, in the general mood music is positive for the Conservatives, but they won't be complacent about these elections. The Conservatives are defending quite a high watermark from 2017 and 2016, so it wouldn't be difficult for them to start losing councillors. I think what you also find in local elections, whatever the context and whatever's going on, is that each party tries to dampen down expectations so that they can say that they've surpassed them when the results are counted.
Are you going to vote?
I don't think so.
OK. Expectation management is normal. These elections are anything but. But how much the pandemic will shape the politics, we'll find out when voters go to the polls on May the 6th.
Well, I've been speaking with Labour's Deputy Leader Angela Rayner. Began by asking her what Labour would do about nurses' pay.
Well, we think that, the choice in May is to give the government a clear message, and that's that we don't want to see pay cuts to those frontline key workers. The NHS deserve better than that. They were promised, and it was legislated for 2.1%, and now they've been told that they'll get 1%, which is a real terms pay cut. That's a slap in the face for those.
Say, I would give them 10%. And if anyone comes back, say, oh, they don't deserve 10%, how dare you say that these people who put their lives on the line are not worth 10%? Don't be fighting for 2%, because then the government can turn around and give them 2% and then claim victory. Ask for 10%. Fight for 10%. That's what you need to do. This is frustrating because they're like, yeah, they're not treating the staff with respect. They should be giving them the 2% that they asked for, or that the government should give them the 2% that they promised. Probably later on, Boris Johnson will do a U-turn if he's forced to, and they'll give them the 2%, which is what, like £6 or £7 a week, which is still a slap in the face, and then the government will claim victory. Oh look, we gave them double what we had originally promised. And then Labour would have lost once again.
Those key workers that have been out there looking after us.
So let's be clear, Labour would have to raise taxes to guarantee nurses the pay you believe they should have?
No, Labour believes that if you manage the finances better, instead of giving out billions of pounds of contracts that have been wasted actually and haven't delivered, and actually deliver, like, for example, the vaccine rollout was delivered by our NHS and by our public services, and that's why we believe it's been a great success. We should reward success and not dole out billions of pounds to contracts like Serco and the test, track and trace system that has been a massive failure.
But it's quite clear that Keir Starmer has not made a difference to Labour's appearance, at least, in the opinion polls. 45% Tories, 32% Labour, and that's more or less exactly how they were when he came in.
But it's been a difficult 12 months for, us to get out there, because obviously we've been in lockdown and the restrictions, and Keir Starmer made it very clear, and I absolutely agree, that the general public wanted us to do everything we could to try and be a constructive opposition, to come together as a country.
I think also the problem is that because Boris Johnson is such a large majority, he's not been held to account. So it's difficult for Labour to really hold the government to account because of the massive majority. Also, what's the point in asking Boris Johnson questions in Parliament? I think they need to be a bit more tactical in Parliament. Do something like somebody who suggested in the comment section on one of the live streams. They said when Boris Johnson, when Keir Starmer asks Boris Johnson a question and he doesn't answer the question, and then the Speaker of the House says, Keir Starmer should sit down, should remain seated, and say, I'm sorry, he didn't answer the question. Then put the pressure on the Speaker of the House to react. And the Speaker will have to say something. And the Speaker will have to say something like, Prime Minister, would you like to have another go? And then it would put pressure on Boris Johnson to respond. Now, it could also go the other way. The Speaker of the House could be a bit of an arse and say something like, you don't want to ask another question? He said, no, I would actually, if I was Keir Starmer, I would sit and I would say, I'm waiting for the Prime Minister to answer the first question. He hasn't answered the question. Maybe he didn't hear the question. Does he need me to ask the question again? There needs to be another approach. I know that the Speaker has limited power, but it doesn't mean he has no power. And he doesn't have to demand that Boris Johnson answer a question. He could be a bit more neutral, and he could say to the Prime Minister, he says, Prime Minister, would you like to try and answer the question again? Maybe the leader of the opposition didn't hear you, or he doesn't believe you answered the question. They have to use some sort of tactics. I think something, I don't know if it's possible in the House of Commons. Is it possible to show videos? I think this could be something very interesting. For example, if they're doing, when there's a question asked from a member of Parliament remotely, you have a video screen. Would it be possible for them to show something? Like, for example, Keir Starmer said, Prime Minister, I'd like to ask you a question. And he puts up a video of Boris Johnson saying, there's no border in the island of Ireland, and then Boris Johnson, having to answer that question. Is there a border on the island, there's no border in the Irish Sea, sorry. Is there a border in the Irish Sea? Or Boris Johnson, saying something and then lying? Would it be possible to do something like that and get Boris Johnson to have to respond to it? They have to use some sort of tactics, I think,
to fight this global pandemic, and that's what we've tried to do. We've criticised the government in a constructive way when we think they've got things wrong, and they have got a significant amount of things wrong, but we've also tried to be constructive, like, for example, supporting getting our children back into school as quickly as we possibly could, and we've put suggestions forward on how we could have vaccinated our teachers, etc. So I think it's been very difficult circumstances and not normal times.
Prince William has said this morning, we are very much not a racist family, in response to the allegations of racism made by Prince Harry.
It's like, okay, I don't know where this came from, but we're not a racist family. It's like, have you ever had anyone here on the stream ever had to say, my family is not racist? Usually, if you have to come out with statements like that, it probably means that, yes, you are racist. shutting down the MASH report is the main thing. Thing I find it disturbing. They're accelerating down the slippery slope. Apologies as we've already discussed. Andy, thanks for that super chat. No, it wasn't actually discussed. I just saw a report about it today. I saw it on Twitter. Yes, so there has been the MASH report is a comedy, considered left-wing comedy. It's basically comedy that's been attacking the government, criticizing lampooning the government, and the BBC, or Ofcom I think it was, decided to close it down. And I think it was Andrew Neil demanded that it was closed down, and it was closed down, or it was taken off the air. That's extremely concerning, because Andrew Neil is now moving into the far right. You know, he's going to start GB News. What was it? Gammon Brexit News. And there's an attempt to silence critics of the government. You notice that people like Brendan O'Neill, who's from Spike TV or Spike News or Spike Online, whatever it is, one of these so-called free speech activists or advocates, he's very quiet about this. But imagine if it was a right-wing media outlet that was silenced, that was cancelled, he would be jumping up and down. But when it comes to this is what I have no time for people like Brendan O'Neill. It's because they pretend to care about free speech, but when it's somebody else, somebody that they disagree with, having their speech taken away, then they don't have a problem with it. Grossly bigoted. Right, like gammon Brexiteer news. Anyway, let's continue. But are the royal family racist? If you have to ask that question, then the answer is probably yes.
Which brother do you believe?
Well, I'm not sure that Harry was saying that his family were racist. I think if you listen to the interview, that Harry and Meghan raised some serious concerns around how Meghan was treated, and racism as well as mental health should be treated seriously. And I welcome the statement by the palace in terms of looking into these issues, because quite rightly they should. I'm sure it's incredibly upsetting for.
She knows that the royal family is racist. I know that the royal family is racist. Everyone knows that they're racist. It's just that people will decide to ignore the fact that they're racist and pretend that they're not for political reasons. Isn't it sad that that the people on the left, who are generally anti-monarchy, have to come out and say, I don't believe that the Queen or the royal family are racist. Of course they are. But racist in many ways. For example, if their entire structure is based on the idea of pure blood. You can't join the monarchy and become king or queen. You have to be born into it. It's not based on skill or ability or merit. It's your firstborn. They become the heir to the throne. Can you think of anything more absurd? Like, we wouldn't want, I know it doesn't work like that, but we generally wouldn't want prime ministers because somebody handpicked them. We generally want people, I know it's probably not the best example to use prime ministers, but generally, people in power we hope are the best people to have, the most skilled, not because their dad or their mom happened to be who happened to be in the right place at the right time. Prince Philip racist when Prince Philip's racism is a bit like your crazy old uncle. We all have that crazy old uncle who's like who says things that we like. Keep your voice down, or you don't mind having conversations with them as long as it's not in public.
for the Queen and her family to be in these circumstances. And, you know, Harry paid tribute to his grandmother and said how supportive she'd been. That's, you know, that's great. And it's really upsetting to see a family in the circumstances that are in now. But there's wider issues for us as a society, because we know the stigma that's still around for people with mental health. And we also know the problems that we face in this country with racism still. We all have to look at that, and we all have to look at...
Sugarface says Camilla. I think it was Camilla too. I've heard some rumours that it was... So it was either Prince Charles, Prince William, or Camilla. And they allegedly said that it wasn't Prince Charles. Probably wouldn't have said something like that, but Camilla probably did. Camilla's like, oh, what colour will it be? Will it be fully brown or half brown or more white? Or like, that'd be probably the questions that, you know, it's a bit like somebody who's not directly involved being the most critical of the situation. Like Camilla has no business to be asking these questions. Like nobody has any business, but Camilla has less of. Definitely Camilla. Camilla has the least reason to be getting involved in this, because William. No, I don't think. I think William is not. William is a young guy. You generally think younger people are a bit more open-minded than the people like Camilla, who's, I don't know, how old is Camilla? About 80 or something. If it was Camilla, that would really have hurt Harry. Yeah, probably. Come on, who cares? Yes, you're right.
Making sure.
Okay, let's move on. In regards, I just want to show you this story in regards to the pay for nurses. Staying on the topic of pay. This is from the Mirror. It says here, Rishi Sunak doubles down on NHS pay plan despite growing public anger. The Chancellor claimed 1% pay offer, effectively a pay cut after inflation, was proportionate, fair and reasonable. This is from a multi-billionaire. A multi-billionaire is telling workers on the front line, Camilla 73, telling workers on the front line, £3.50 extra a week is reasonable, fair and proportionate. A billionaire. Wouldn't it be great to have people like Rishi Sunak, Boris Johnson, Jacob Rees-Mogg, to have them, you know, I don't know if you've seen that movie, was it Changing Places, with Eddie Murphy and the guy from Ghostbusters, where they have, you know, one of them is, I think he's a homeless guy, and then the other is like a millionaire banker, and they get switched as a bet by the owners of the bank or something like that, or stockbrokers or something like that. And wouldn't it be great if you had Dan Aykroyd? Dan Aykroyd is the guy. Wouldn't it be great if you could have something like that? Trading Places, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Miner. Trading Places, a fantastic movie. Dan Aykroyd, yes. Trading Places. Sorry about that, I got the name wrong. Ghostbusters. Dan Aykroyd, okay, I get it. Yes, everyone's correcting me. But wouldn't it be great if you had Boris Johnson, Jacob Rees-Mogg and Nigel Farage and Rishi Sunak as well do a version of Trading Places where they're put on universal credit for a year and everything they have is taken away from them. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Jimmy Lee Curtis. Elwood. So, Rishi Sunak has doubled down on plans to give the NHS heroes a real terms pay cut despite giving despite growing public anger. The Chancellor claimed the 1% pay offer for nurses was proportionate, fair and reasonable, even though it means less money for those on the front line. Thank you very much, Alexander. Thank you very much for that super chat. I love trilogies. First Escape from New York, then Escape from LA, and then Escape from Buckingham Palace. Fantastic. Ben, thank you so much for that super chat. Here's your 1% pay rise from me. Don't spend it all at once. I will. I promise not to. I'll buy a glass of good wine here in Italy. You can get it for about £5. Definitely for £5. Thank you so much for that. You champagne socialist. The government has been criticised for capping pay, saying it is all it can afford while committing huge sums to vanity projects. Senior Tory MPs have publicly urged ministers to U-turn following the furious backlash from nurses, doctors and health unions. But Mr Sunak told the Commons Treasury Committee, for a matter of fairness and also to protect people's jobs in the public sector, we set out a target approach to public sector pay, which we thought was proportionate, fair and reasonable. Trade unions organised a slow hand clap to oppose the paltry 1% pay proposal on doorsteps and balconies to take place at 8 p.m. tonight. This was yesterday. The Royal College of Nursing said it was prepared for strike action in protest at the pay rise. I'd be interested to know what you guys think. What is the best approach for this? Because I think, unfortunately, strike action will have the right-wing media turn against the NHS staff, unfortunately. I think they need someone like Marcus Rashford to step forward and to put pressure on the government. Marcus Rashford has done it before. Maybe he can be called into action once again. Somebody, a celebrity, this is what's required. Someone to work to rule. That could be a solution as well. But I think the problem is that we have frontline staff and NHS and other NHS staff who are looking after their patients, and they prioritize their patients. Strikes never work, says Kendra. Let's organise a stand on your doorstep and give the middle finger to the Tories Tuesday. Piers could do it. Piers Morgan. Just one troll tonight, I'm worried. Me too. Personal donation, recover money from Serco. Attack Westminster with Boris water cannons. Dust them off, fill them up. Fill them up with water from the sea, which is grade B. And that's the reason that shellfish can't be exported to the EU. And then hose Westminster down with it. Get Harry involved. Harry's not very popular at the moment, unfortunately. Strikes work. They need to get a right-wing media riled up, because if they dare to accuse the nurses of greed for demanding more than 1%, we'll finally get how ridiculous the whole story is. I don't know, Marcus, if that would work, because the right-wing media convinced people to vote for Brexit. They convinced people to be angry with immigrants who have no power and no money, and not be angry with billionaires who have lots of power and lots of money. That's what's concerning about the right-wing press. That's why the right-wing press had little traction when it came to attacking Marcus Rashford. Yes, look at Marcus Rashford has 2 or 3 houses, but they understood that he actually didn't come from money. He worked his way up. He's very successful. The things that he has is due to his merit, and it was very difficult for the right-wing media to attack Marcus Rashford. If Marcus Rashford was like Gary, I don't know Gary Lineker's past, but if Marcus Rashford had became famous, although he from a position of wealth, or had stepped over from wealth into fame in football, I think it would have been easier to attack him for the right-wing press. They just want to bring people down. Oh, look, there's somebody doing something good, let's tear them down. But I think we need somebody like Marcus Rashford, or Marcus Rashford himself. Surely he could be convinced to put pressure on the government. I know it's a different story because he was talking about free school meals, something that he required, he depended upon. But I'm sure he would agree with the NHS getting the money they deserve. All NHS staff need to resign on the same day. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm afraid it's not a criticism, but the NHS staff care about their patients and they wouldn't leave them alone. They wouldn't do that. And I'm afraid that many people would be afraid. It's not like, walking out of your office. It's walking away from people who need your support, need your care. And a lot of them rightly wouldn't do that. Black footballers get terrible treatment. Raheem, Sterling and Marcus Rashford have been given vitriol. Sterling has it worse, though. My name's Marcus. Will that help? What happened to the £350 million a week? Went to Serco. That's where it went. Okay, guys, I want to show you a story. Let me see if I can bring this up. Of how things have changed. So this is from Channel 4 News. It's about 1 year. 1 year ago, what happened 1 year ago when we first started to see COVID, and how governments have dealt with it since then.
First pandemic caused by a coronavirus, and we have never before seen a pandemic that can be controlled at the same time.
March the 11th, 2020, and the World Health Organization declares a coronavirus pandemic. 118,000 cases in 114 countries.
It's actually hard to believe, and so much has changed. We wear masks all the time. We're constantly washing our hands. We can't hug our friends. Our children haven't been to school for months on end. Some people have had COVID and not even noticed. Other people, and we know this, have died. So now is the time to ask what lessons can be learned, but also, more importantly, is there hope?
We had already
Good night, Sugar Free. Have a great night. I'll see you soon.
Seen the pictures from Wuhan and China, the epicenter of the outbreak. We had seen the patients in Italy, faces obscured by machinery, prone on their stomachs and dying in waves. In the UK, 460 people had tested positive and there had been 2 confirmed deaths. The Liverpool Atletico Madrid Champions League football match went ahead at Anfield, as did the Cheltenham Festival.
I remember when this took place. There were why is Italy always so hard hit? Are they licking doorknobs down there, Max? I think it's because of Italy has a lot of connections with China and Russia, and I think a lot of I think the very first cases in Italy or in Europe arrived via China. Not that far from me. I was not involved, I promise. But it was I think it was the very first case in Europe was in Italy, and it was from someone who had been, it wasn't a Chinese person, it was a guy who had visited China and brought it back. But why we have so many cases at the moment? Because of the lockdown measures. A lot of people haven't been wearing masks, and a lot of the problems have also been due to the way the lockdown has been carried out, where there have been restrictions eased. I'm just looking at this picture, and this is just a year ago. It's insane. It feels like 10 years ago. It feels like 5 years ago. It feels so distant. But it was just a year ago. This is Cheltenham. And I remember hearing stories about people who went to Cheltenham from Ireland. And I was speaking to some people in Ireland at the time, and I was like, what the hell is wrong with these people? What the hell are they going to Cheltenham? But the government said it's okay. I don't care if the government said it's okay. Use some common sense. There's a pandemic. It's out of control. Don't go to Cheltenham. Why do you need to go to Cheltenham? Ed, thank you so much for that super chat. Hi, Max. Sorry for joining so late. Keep up the great work, bud. Thank you so much for that, Ed. I try my best.
The government and advisers insisted it was safe. On the 9th of March, Professor Stephen Riley submitted this paper to the government's scientific advisers, calling in the starkest possible terms for a lockdown. That, of course, did not happen until a fortnight later.
Tell me what was going through your mind when you wrote this paper.
I felt that some people thought there was an option that we could just let this pass through in some way and get back relatively quickly to normal life.
Herd immunity.
Yeah, I certainly don't remember that kind of being, stated, but it's just the idea that, that we had to try and get through this.
I actually think there was an attitude with the Tories that this is something that will not affect us, as in the UK. There'll be a few cases, but then it'll just die out. It's taking hold in other countries, but I think there was a sort of British exceptionalism, even when it came to the virus, on the side of the Tories. And they still, some of them still think that the lockdowns were a bad idea. But there was an idea that I think this is something that affects other places and not us.
And that it might be quick, because I didn't think there was any fast option. So I wanted to make that point really clearly in the paper.
A WHO meeting in February to find ways to slow down the virus. Professor David Heyman was there, a leading authority on infectious diseases.
One of the major lessons we've learned is that the world did not want to work together in this pandemic politically. They worked together technically very well. There was
and I think that a lot of that is down to Donald Trump, his approach, Bolsonaro in Spain, his approach, and in a sense Boris Johnson and the Brexiteer mentality of we don't need to work with other people, we can do it all ourselves. JD, thank you so much for that super chat. Very kind of you as always. We're only now starting to understand that we need to work together. And I've said I hate the idea of this vaccine nationalism. I've been critical of, and I don't know if it's exactly the story, but it seems that Italy was blocking the export of vaccines. We need to make sure that everyone on the planet is vaccinated, or as close to possible as everyone is vaccinated, because we can't have a situation where one country, the northern hemisphere is vaccinated and the southern hemisphere is not. We can't continue like that. We can't continue in an approach where we just care about our country and we don't care about others, because we're global. We have people coming from Bolsonaro in Spain. No, it's Bolsonaro in Brazil. Sorry, did I say Spain? Sorry. Bolsonaro's in Brazil. Sorry. I don't know why I said Spain. Apologies to Spain. Apologies. I didn't know I said Spain. I'm sorry. Brazil, yes. Bolsonaro is the president of... it's the Trump of the tropics. Apologies to Spain for saying such a stupid thing. I don't know why that came out. But we need to work together going forward.
Great exchange of scientific information and great research and development activities, but countries just didn't politically want to work together and cede their sovereignty in order to do that.
That's the science and the politics. And then there are the patients, the victims, and those like Dr. Natalie McDermott left with what's called long COVID.
I have some sort of damage to my spinal cord which affects my ability to walk very far. I can't drive at the moment. I don't believe I can drive at the moment. And just even doing things daily around the house can be a struggle.
And I think this is going to be probably the worst consequence of COVID is long COVID, because it would mean that many people will require treatment maybe for years, decades, or even the rest of their lives. And you lost Spanish followers. Sorry, apologies. I don't know why when I said Spain, I meant Brazil. Apologies. It's not even the same language. But a long COVID, I think, is going to create huge problems in the future. And many people will need long-term care because of it. It's something that we're not talking about enough. We're just looking at the number of deaths are down. That means we're winning. In a sense, yes, but not completely.
And every day the numbers climbed further still. But there have been developments, scientific breakthroughs on a monumental scale.
The biggest achievement I think that we've made is that colleagues have developed a vaccine. The NHS has, and the companies have produced these vaccines, and we've got them into people's arms, into at-risk people's arms, before those people got infected. And then kind of going out to the summer and into next autumn, the biggest uncertainty is about the evolution of the virus. We know that it is evolving. We know that it is evolving to escape immunity to some degree. What we don't know yet is how good it is at doing that.
Will it become endemic? Will there ever be an end to it?
Well, I think nobody would argue that this infection is now becoming endemic and will be with us for quite a while. We have some excellent tools to deal with it. We have vaccines, we have diagnostic tests, we have some therapeutic drugs that are coming along, and hopefully they will be available. So we will have to live with this using the tools we have.
Sometimes the tools have worked, tocilizumab and dexamethasone as an example, but not hydroxychloroquine, to the disappointment of President Trump. Still, numerous questions need answering, not least why has the UK done so badly. Few dispute the need for an inquiry, and the government says it will happen, though refuses to put a timetable on it.
There will be an inquiry, and Boris Johnson and Dominic Cummings and people like that may be dragged in front of it, but it will be so far in the future that people will be asking, what's the point in putting Boris Johnson through so much stress? Oh, I can guarantee it. There will probably half the population will be like, leave Boris alone. He probably did his best at it at the time. Yes, 200,000 people or whatever it is at the end of this will have died, but he did his best probably, and it was probably somebody else's fault, and of course that would be the approach. We don't think about that now, but an inquiry will be so far into the future. The results of that inquiry, it will be a bit pointless, I'm afraid.
Many people have suffered in very different ways, and we're sat, just about to come out of the third lockdown. So I think people do need a really good answer to that, but I don't think now is the time to try and give. I think we need to get back to a period of very low circulation of the virus so that we can look at that question properly.
What has surprised you the most about this past year?
I think what surprised me the most has been the lack of attention paid to the science in many countries. Hopefully, in a future pandemic, there will be better links between the political and the public health community so that together they can make the right decisions.
1 year on, and the numbers are now astonishing and distressing.
Obviously, I hope that I'm going to make a full recovery, but from my perspective, I'm going to need quite intensive physiotherapy. I need support at the moment just with things around the house and gaining some of the function back that I've lost.
When the WHO declared the pandemic on this day a year ago, they also asked for unity, clarity, empathy, and determination. History will now be the judge.
Very good report. Let me read some of your comments. Long COVID is meteorological damage, yes. UK government inquiry, I don't think so. Blame Megan. Well, it's the EU's fault, of course. Yes. Boris Johnson and the Brexiteers will no doubt be likened to Mosley. I think you probably find some people who think Mosley was a good guy. You probably still find some of them. There was Donald Trump's bleach enemas as well. People who lost loved ones because of decisions by the government will not forget this. Nothing is more painful than the loss of loved ones. Yes, I just fear that the public itself will forget. The public will move on, which it should not. Boris Johnson and his government are responsible here. They've made so many mistakes. They had decided to reject help and support from the European Union or European countries during the beginning of the pandemic. And I'm so tired of this government, Max. Yes. But I hope that they will be held to account. But it will need political will on behalf of the government in the future. I hope it's a government who cares about the public. So I don't want to be on such a downer here. I just want to read a little bit from this last story before we finish for tonight. Let me just copy this link. Racism is expensive. Oh no, this isn't the story. Where is it? Yes, here we go. Whoops. It says here, Minneapolis reaches settlement with George Floyd's family. It says breaking news. The Associated Press brings us this development that the city of Minneapolis has reached a $27 million settlement with George Floyd's family in their lawsuit over his killing while in police custody. George Floyd died during the arrest attempt last May, but by now ex-police officer Derek Chauvin, who is on trial for murder in the city right now, with jury selection underway. More in a moment. So this is from 4 hours ago, but it's good news that the family have reached a settlement, $27 million. Wouldn't it be cheaper for the city of Minneapolis just not to have racist police officers? Wouldn't it be much cheaper than having to pay out $27 million? Sorry. Please see my message of 2311. Says Peter, thank you very much for that super chat, Peter. I don't actually have a timestamp here, so. Oh no! Can you rewrite your message, Peter? Just in the chat. You don't need to send another super chat. I'll read it out. Apologies, I didn't see it before. The George Floyd case, unfortunate. The government this government makes me want to devolve. Import police officers from the EU. Maybe, but the training is completely different. Generally, police officers in the UK get training to de-escalate, while there isn't really training in the US for de-escalation of. There used to be, but now it has been replaced with shoot first and ask questions later sort of type of training. The training is more to deal with armed suspects in a sense, I think. So Richard, if you want to rewrite your comment, I'll try and respond to it. It's not like you can simply ask them, are you racist, when they apply? Yes. No, that's true. But the requirement for people to join the police force is extremely low. That seems to be one of the problems. The level of training is a problem as well. All hail the Mankinis, God. UBI forever, hurrah! Well said. I agree 100%. Thank you very much, Bogdan. Shooting center mass de-escalates well, though. Anyone want to hear a joke or read? Not sure how long these things left. The George Floyd case, unfortunately, I think, has potential to bring mass civil unrest to U.S. cities depending on the verdict. The message was too long, I can't copy it. Oh no! We can't read your original message, Richard. I'll try and go up and see if I can see Richard's. Thanks to Robert. Sorry, I didn't read Robert's. Sorry for being late. Look forward to the Friday night streams. Great to have you on, Robert Rettel. There's a fundamental flaw in our political system. Hardly any science in it. Yeah, I agree 100%, Richard. It's not driven by experts. It's driven by belief. We need to, Michael Gove himself said, people are tired of experts. We've had enough of experts. No, we need more experts. We need more experts speaking, and we need fewer politicians speaking. We need politicians to shut the hell up, and we need to listen to experts instead. Something which is, I think, positive. I remember I was really taken aback by this when Barack Obama became president back in 2008. I remember one of his first positions that he had assigned. It was the Secretary of State for Energy, I think it was. And he had put forward a scientist. I don't remember his name, but he was a scientist with I don't know how many PhDs. And he was the Secretary of State for Energy. And I thought that was amazing. You had not a politician running the Department of Energy. You had a scientist. Now, I understand, look, a scientist may not be the best at organizing things, may not be the best at running, a department. But it gives, he can surround himself with the management, the people with the managerial skills necessary. But I think it was a great idea that you had a scientist running the Department of Energy. And not some oil baron. Our political system is currently being dictated by Red Wall, according to the Royal Society, unofficially, by the way, of my supervisor. This idea of, we need to keep the Red Wall happy. More politicians with expert background would be great, but being an expert and getting into politics doesn't have good optics. Yeah, there is this idea, he's not a man of the people, or she's not a woman of the people. A snake in a suit. We need more people like Nigel Farage. Yes, because Nigel Farage is a man of the people. I prefer somebody who... I'm different. I prefer somebody who knows what they're doing than somebody who pretends that they know what they're doing, but they sound cool. So the English fellow says to the Irish, if you give me 50 quid, we'll take these 3 monkeys down to the zoo for me. Not a problem, says the Irishman. Load them up. Scott Stewart, thank you so much for that super chat. Very kind of you. I'm waiting for Andy's punchline. This Tory government is left-wing, you Irish. Okay. Big Phil. Left-wing government. Really? Boris Johnson's left-wing. Dude, scientist organization skills are underrated. If you have multiple many-hour reaction at once, you need exceptional organization. Good point. And Ed knows what he's talking about. He definitely does. I've spoken to him. I'm waiting for Andy's punchline. Andy McAvoy's punchline. I find it funny somebody would suggest that Boris Johnson's government is left-wing. If Boris Johnson's left-wing, I'd like to know what right-wing is. After the zoo, he took the monkeys to the cinema. Okay. Somebody finished the punchline for Adam, for Andy. Okay. Max, can you finally have Mr. Farage officially flush down the drain in this chat, please? Yes. I wish we could flush that terrible thing down the drain. I would love for the lorry drivers who are stuck on the in the Farage garage to fill up their bottles and bags of nasty stuff and leave it at Boris Johnson, leave it at Nigel Farage's doorstep. Hopefully he would trip over it. Okay, guys, we're at the end of the stream for tonight, but before we finish, we have our one for the road. So I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who sent a super chat tonight. Greatly appreciate. Thanks to everyone who came on the stream as well. We're over, I think, up to 400 viewers tonight. That's great. Smash the like button. Remember, you can support the channel by becoming a Patreon, and you get instant access to Discord, where after the stream tonight, I'll be speaking to some people on Discord. So if you're already a patron, you can jump onto Discord and you can listen in, or you can join in as you wish. So I hope to see some of you there. Otherwise, I'm going to wish you all a wonderful weekend, but don't go yet because we have our one final video for tonight. And as always, the moderators do a fantastic job. Thanks so much for doing that. So here we have our one final comedy video to send us off.
Aye, so I'll just be taking it easy. I'm just going to trim the branches in this garden. And people saying, Pierce, do you think you were wrong what you did to Meghan Markle? And I wasn't wrong. I absolutely believe in freedom of speech. If I believe that woman lied about having suicidal feelings and me constantly berating her and screaming at her and shouting her name in my sleep means that I'm bullying her, then I don't believe that. I mean, I wrote to her, I emailed her, I called her, I got somebody else to get her number, and she just completely blanked me. So at the end of the day, that's her problem. She even cut me out the WhatsApp group. But her and Harry, they're going to go to hell in a handbasket, and I should be allowed to say what I want. So I'm just going to spend my time doing a bit of gardening, because this branch has near took my eye out twice this week. But Megan better not try and phone me.
Okay. So, thank you so much for everyone for coming on. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you all next time. Same bat time, same bat channel on Tuesday at 9:30 Greenwich Mean Time. Have a great weekend, guys. I'll see you all soon. Take care. And as Boris Johnson always says, stay safe. Good night, guys. See you soon.